anybody, I think, that has an interest in food in Canada, certainly in Ontario, they'll soon hear the name Langdon Hall. Its reputation for many, many years has been as one of the country's finest, not only hotels, but restaurants. It's surrounded by the most magnificent gardens, and it's a splendid Georgian manor that just has been transformed into an absolutely stunning luxury hotel, run by some of the most dedicated and talented hoteliers you'll ever meet. It also has one of the best kitchens in the entire country that operates at an extremely high level. It manages not only to produce exceptional tasting menus, as avant-garde and as meticulous as any you would find at a 3-star Michelin restaurant, but it also does a great bar menu, and they do phenomenal breakfasts, and there's wonderful food to be had throughout the day. It's a very impressive operation. There's never a bad time to visit Langdon Hall, but again, because the garden is such a strong feature, such an important feature of the property, there's a tendency, I think, for people to imagine that, summertime or fall, these are like, when the harvest is happening, this is when the property is really at its best, and certainly it's beautiful at that time. But winter is really special, and the kitchen does not let the fact that the garden is covered in snow, it doesn't slow them down at all.
I think every chef loves a good challenge, and when everything's covered in snow, it's a real challenge. When your inspiration comes from the property, comes from the garden, even getting to the greenhouse, we got to put on snowshoes or shovel a path some days. We get quite a bit of snow here. I do like the challenge of what do you prepare when you're known for preparing everything from the garden. When people think of Langdon Hall and they think of the cuisine, they think of the garden, the flowers, the florals, all those bright, fresh, organic flavors and visuals on the plates. Here, in the winter, we're not getting those things for the plates.
I like to be able to provide something from the garden for the kitchen, so that they can still do their garnishes and things like that. And so luckily we were able to produce an entire grow bed in the back area, and it's about a 10 by 5 kind of space with grow lights and everything, so that we can actually grow all these fresh herbs well into and throughout the winter time. And we're talking, anise, we're talking bronze fennel and lettuces and cilantros.
To be able to come down here and still pull little hints of the garden to put on the plates is really, it's nice to see that through the whole year, right? Through all the seasons.
The greenhouse is very special. There's not many properties that I've been to, or restaurants that I've been to that have a full greenhouse at their disposal. That's exciting for us to go to the greenhouse in January, February, and there's fresh cilantro for us to use on the lobster dish, or different types of verbena or thyme, or all of the things that we kind of desire through the cold months, as we do have quite aesthetic dishes that require a fair amount of garnish. I think that that's something that's provided for us, and it's taken a lot of work as well.
There's so many different ways that we utilize all of the product on property. We tend to keep a pantry so that when we get into those colder months, when we're into winter, we are able to still bring a little taste, a little flavor of the summer or even the spring onto the dishes.
Preservation in winter is important because we have 4 seasons in Canada. For 3 of those seasons, you have things available. When nothing's available, what are you using? You want to preserve some of the beauty of that summer berry when it's perfect so that you can use it later. If you don't capture the essence and the moments that you have, you're kind of wasting your abilities, your craft. You have to think about what's available, because most things, in fact, in reality, you have 3 weeks to a month and a half, basically, out of every year that something's perfect.
I think that one of the nice things about winter, once we finished the holiday season and the craziness is over, is how quiet it is, right? It's when you walk through the property, it's only the sound of maybe the chickens over in our chicken coop, and the sound of your feet crushing the ice as you walk, or making footprints in the snow. There's very little. You might hear the crackling of a fire nearby, but it's just calm, it's quiet. That inspires the cuisine. So it does become much more about those kind of winter dishes, those braised, stews, roasts. It's those dishes that are kind of heartwarming and warm the soul, which you need when it's minus 17. I think in the winter we do much more smoking and smoked flavors than we do in the spring and the summer. It's a lot of using the forest, the pine, the cedar, the juniper, and we'll use those things to smoke too, whether it's a piece of fish or a piece of pork or a piece of beef or vegetables or nuts or honey or butter. These things in the winter, we'll smoke them all.
Winter and smoking is like living and drinking. It's just it's something that happens naturally. Sure, you can cook on the stove all the time, but to bring in the element, when you think about the winter time, you want to have a fire. When you're camping in the summer, you want to have a fire too, but you need warmth in the winter. It's cold, it gets to you. This is a way to bring that warmth onto the plate, simply. You want to go to a place where you feel like they've thought about what you want before you get there. And I think that's a big focus of ours, not just in the winter, but generally speaking, but we do go quite heavier on the menu in the winter than we would in the spring or the summer.
One of the reasons that we use smoke, or we try to evoke warmth in the dishes, is so that we're reflecting what Langdon has. It's really unique that a lot of the rooms have wood-burning fireplaces. Not only are they fireplaces, but they're wood-burning, so you get the smell of the smoke, you get really beautiful embers, the crackling that you hear. It really is everywhere on property. There's fire pits outside. It's, again, going back to filling people with comfort and warmth and really taking the chill off a really cold Ontario winter, making you feel at home.
Dusk happens so early in the wintertime, and you have these beautiful fires that are lit around the area. It just brings you in and warms your heart. And splitting, it happens continuously pretty much throughout the wintertime.
Everything changes here in the winter. With the cold weather, because it's an old building, the processes that we take, even with the sourdough, we have to change. So the starter needs to live inside of our proofer overnight. It can't sit on our countertop. We have to adjust everything we do to keep the products consistent. Well, winter here at Langdon means I get to take a bit of a breath. We've just come off of Christmas. Everybody's really tired, and you kind of recharge your batteries, and you can allow your brain to flip into the planning for the spring and summer. And then from there, you're constantly trying to continue to improve the recipes that you're working on every day, but you get to focus on the spring. And I'm really fortunate to have a beautiful window outside upstairs, and I can see the snow. And just the sparkles of the snow really make everything a little bit more magical in the winter. It's really a beautiful place to be. It's quiet. There's less guests, so it's really calm. And I find a lot of my good ideas usually come in the winter. My brain is kind of quieter, and there's not as many questions to ask. And you get to not relax. Nobody relaxes here, but it's just still, quiet. So when we're planning in the winter for the upcoming seasons, it's all about what worked and what did not work, and trying to make sure that we're thinking about how to best serve our guests and what ingredients we can start using if we've had anything from the summer that we preserved over the course of the fall. Is there something hiding in the pantry that we can use for a tasty menu right now? Is there something that we want to talk to Jeremy about and have grown in the garden? What can we do to make the next season more exciting? What can we do to top what we did last year?
I love that January is quiet, because the summer is so busy that you need a time to kind of appreciate and relax and enjoy and take a breath and then plan. So January and then into mid-February is really when planning begins. You take a week off for yourself to kind of appreciate what you're doing, and then you come back and you start to build your gardens. And literally, that we're talking about making little squares on pieces of graph paper and drawing out the colors of the different gardens and the plots and how many plants per area, and that starts to get you excited.
I think people think with the snow and the frost and the ice comes death, comes the end of the season. Our plants perish, our plants go dormant until the spring when they come back to life. For us, winter isn't necessarily the end. I find it's a time we have to get through that busy holiday season, and that is a time where we are busy and the focus is that time of year. But as soon as that is over and we're into the new year and we're in like the heart of winter, it's a time to start to rebuild. It's a planning time. It's a time to look at what's going in the garden next and what do we want to see for the coming season. It is the time of the rebirth of the next menu, the next dish. And we never want the dish that we did last year to be the dish that we do next year, and creating something new, something exciting. And the winter is when we do that. We create, we experiment, we test, and we look at building something that was better than what we did the year before. It's a new beginning.